It's going to be a little bit of a follow-up of some of the things I've been talking about in a lot of my recent videos. And I guess in some ways it's a return to some of the videos I had earlier about Stoicism and Epictetus. And they're also about the role that explanation plays. And I'm I can't help but see the some of the debates and the concerns on YouTube from my own perspective be just very misplaced. They're helping people shoot their own feet. They're helping people learn to become victims, helping people explain why life isn't like they wanted it to be. And in some ways I just think it's very disempowering the way that I hear some people account for it. And the way to maybe come at some of this is to say, was there a grand house cleaning that went on in the turn of the century to try to get people to remove a lot of false beliefs? Yeah, I think there were. I mean, not only do we have all kinds of religious beliefs that were, really radically questioned, virgin births and life after death and divine intervention and all this kind of stuff, ghosts and ghouls and vampires and I mean all this kind of stuff. I think we can say, okay, this is hokum, but if along the way we also say, well, yes, all sense of freedom and free will was just as illusory, I think we are making a mistake. I do believe that there is an evolved, determined sense of freedom. That is, humans have evolved the language that determines them to be free, or at least to experience their freedom in terms of choice, deliberation, the capacity to reflectively attend to different options and then to select from one of those options. The ability to have foresight and to plan ahead. All of these things become just practical, everyday levels of freedom. And I think that, again, there's a kind of explanation as motive, where if we have an explanation for things, it eases our conscience. And Lee Thayer, wonderful, wonderful book called Pieces, that has this essay called Explanation is Motive. And I do have some videos on that. I don't know if I'll post links there, but the I think there is something about the way that explanations serve as motives, and that we constrain ourselves or we liberate ourselves in our freedom by how we live and operate through our explanations. That is, the more that you accept explanations and excuses, the more that you will pander to an immediate animal self. I mean, we could do it different ways. But the more that you are tough upon yourself, the more that you expect high things of yourself, the more that you don't accept excuses and explanations, you could say the more self-disciplined a person becomes, the freer they are. Now, there's a difference between freedom to and freedom from. I think when we think freedom, we often think freedom from constraint. I'm free from external coercion. But there is a different kind of freedom, which is freedom to. That is, I'm free to write if I take on the constraints of grammar. I'm free to, do with what I want with my life and my world, to the extent that I'm really self-disciplined and not just caught pandering an immediate animal bodily gratification needs, sort of, on a moment by moment basis. I do think people can be more or less sort of aligned with their bodily appetites and bodily desires, and other people can exercise something like will and exercise something like strategic management of some of those problems of desire and bodily appetites and those kinds of things. Now, so, one of the things is just practically, people who are high performance people, they learn how to act with no excuses. They learn how to talk to themselves in certain ways that get themselves to do things, and they learn to see that their life is a problem that they need to own, and they get in there and they fix it. And it's not a super fantastical magic wand. It doesn't make everything all better, but there's something that feels good about being an adult and facing adult problems and just owning them, responding to them. Okay. I think the Epictetus issue in here is so much more important, which is, in the ancient world, the Stoics made a distinction between things that are under your power and things that are not under your power. And as soon as we draw that line, it seems like we do have things that we can control and things that we can't control, and those are, again, things of the will. Now, one of the best examples, and I've probably talked about this in, Epictetus video, years ago or whatever, but there's a great line from the Enchiridion, right? It says, "As a mark is not set up for men to miss it, there's nothing intrinsically evil in the world." as a mark is not set up for men to miss it, there's nothing intrinsically evil in the world. So yeah, you set up the target. The setting up a target is a good, why? Because it's under your control. You can set up targets. You can have goals. Okay, that's under your control to set those up. Aiming for the target once you set it up, that again is a good. It's under your control, and it's good to align yourself with what is under your control. Now, when you let the arrow go, whether it hits or misses is neither a good nor evil. If it hits, not a good. If it misses, not an evil. And the point would be that neither of those are under your control. I think what we've done in our culture and our society is we basically inverted that. We spend very little time worrying about our goals. We spend very little time, real and concerted effort, energy, and willfully acting toward that goal. And we're all happy when the arrow hits, and we're all sad when the arrow misses. We have relegated so much of our control outside of ourselves, and now we feel like a ping pong ball being thrown around on the waves, but it's because we're living our life, as the Stoics would say, according to alien principles. If you live according to right principles, the Stoics would say, you begin by asking what's under my power and what's not under my power, and if it's not under your power, it's nothing to you. It is nothing to you. Your health, let's take health as an example. Can you try to get in good shape, maintain a bodily health the best you can, eat right, practice, all kinds of athletics, things that keep your body in good shape? Yes, you can do that. Is there any way to keep your health under your control? No, you cannot. And so, again, is it good to try to exercise, and is it good to try to keep yourself in good shape? Yes. Is health itself a good? No. Health is something that's outside of your control. It's neither good nor evil. So if you're there, and again, this is hard for people to get their head around, but this is the position I'm trying to advocate. And I think it's one that people need to think about and really come to terms with. And you don't have to agree with it. If you don't agree with it, just stop listening. I don't get it, Look, if you're out there running and you're jogging, and suddenly you die of a heart attack, or you have a heart attack and you drop, that heart attack was not a bad thing. It's something that happened outside of your control. The only thing that is good or bad, is how you respond to what is outside of your control. See, I think we do have something like a capacity to align ourselves with what's under our control and what's not under our control, and to learn to be totally indifferent to what's outside of your control, and to spend all of your time, all of your energy, and all your effort into what's under your control. And I think at that point, all of this fancy horse feathers, who cares philosophical BS about free will and free determinism and blah, 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 it just sounds like a bunch of crap. Who cares? None of it makes any sense. What you do is you prove your agency by making your agency apparent in the world. Okay, thanks.